If this is our house and you're a guest and I have my feet on the table and my mom doesn't want that, you as a guest also can't put, it's worse if you put your feet on the table. Like, this is my house here. You feel me? It's bad enough we both doing it, but you don't live here, brother. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you got to show some respect for the house that you in.
But it's worse when you're a white rapper doing that, because it's like the foot on the table thing again, right? It's like, okay, I'm doing that, but I also don't have a cultural debt to pay. You're profiting off of something black culture created, and you're not even black.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Rob Markman. Now, you know, this is a show where sometimes we have artists on and we talk about, you know, their new projects, what's going on in their careers. And sometimes we have a panel. Today's a panel discussion because I felt like we had to talk about some things, okay? Post Malone is making the headlines a lot over the past year. You know, historically, white rappers and white artists in hip-hop has fought for acceptance in hip-hop. But Post is at a place where, you know, he's saying he doesn't want to be labeled hip-hop. I just want to go through some things, and then we're going to talk about it. 2015, Post Malone told DJ Booth, I'm not a rapper, I'm an artist. 2016, he declined to be on the freshman cover. In 2017, he told a Polish news outlet, if you're looking for lyrics, if you're looking to cry, if you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip-hop. He later kind of tried to explain what he meant by those comments. We'll get into that later. And then most recently, in an interview with Hits Daily Double, he's saying that he doesn't believe in genre. What I'm not into is boxes. I don't put people in boxes. There are no genres anymore. If a song makes you feel nice or it makes you feel sad or if it makes you feel anything, what does it matter what category it is in? We want to talk about categories. We want to talk about hip-hop genres and what does it matter. So, you know what I'm saying? I got my panel. I got my peoples with me today. First, I want to introduce my man, Naji Grampus, content manager over at Rap Radar. Naji, what's up?
Here. Cigar Talk. How you feeling, Rob?
I'm feeling great, man.
Low head, I see you.
A little bit, a little something. My man Cory Townes, who's a writer, culture critic. Man, just your insight is impeccable. Had to have you on the show, Cory. Welcome to For the Record.
Thank y'all for having me, man.
Okay, and you know, entertainment reporter at BuzzFeed, host of Hella Opinions. My girl Sylvia Obell, what's up?
What's up?
Now we had some talk before off the camera, man. There might be a little spice to this episode. No, but really, man. You know, I have been watching Post for a while, you know, ever since White Iverson. I personally think the dude is really talented musician. White Iverson was a dope song. Congratulations. He makes songs that, like, I actually enjoy. We all live, you know, within this hip-hop culture and all love it dearly. And, you know, I started, like, question marks started raising. Every time he would kind of talk about hip-hop specifically, it never felt like he quite embraced the culture. And man, I just want to let's start with you, Naji. Just in hearing the comments that I rattled off at the beginning, what do you make of Post Malone and his kind of place in hip hop, the situation where he's in now?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, I try to listen to his opinion objectively to try to kind of get where he's coming from. And when you listen to his album, it is a mixture of different vibes, right? Like, you can hear country, you can hear rock elements, you can hear rap elements. So I'm not one for putting somebody in a box musically to say you have to make this. But the thing about that is, like, when you kind of, you know, go with there are no genres and you kind of try to take out urban music and the epitome of what that is, right? Like, if you're able to kind of distort the origin, you could change the history. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. I think throughout the course of American history, we've seen, you know, white people take claim to black ideas and black culture and monetize it. Like, that's happened. That's a real thing. And me as somebody in hip hop, I'm cognizant of that. And I can't let that rock, man. Like, I don't think that's cool, you know, just to, you know, be able to kind of flip-flop and jump back in between cultures and, you know, when mix or whatever. Like, is you down or is you not? That's what I want to know, you know what I mean?
Cory, I mean, we kind of, so congratulations is your shit, right? Like, when we talked about it earlier, I was like, man, congratulations. As the kids would say, it's a bop.
Listen.
It's a bop.
Like before, whatever we say moving forward, congratulations slaps. White Iverson slaps. Like, he does make records that are good, like, to the ear. So, like, you right.
Does that, let's ask this question, are these hip hop records? Is he a hip hop artist? Or
I think if you look at Post Malone's career trajectory on how he's became popular, he has definitely worked within the hip hop space. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, White Iverson, my man was doing the dab in the desert, you know, when the dab was like the dab. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when you have congratulations, you have Quavo on there. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, at the very least, like, you've danced in this hip hop realm for a long, long time. Like, I think the record with him and 21 Savage broke like streaming records or something like that. I think like last year. Yeah, Rockstar. So like come on, fam. Like, you know, I think it does lend to, you know, white privilege and to be able to kind of say, oh, you know, I'm distancing myself from that or whatever. You know, like kind of like what Naji said, like I'll never tell a creative not to create, you know, and create how you want to, but, you know, pay some respect to what essentially got you here.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned White Iverson because, yeah, the song is dope, but, you know, Iverson is, in the NBA, is kind of the icon of the hip-hop generation. You know, I love Jordan. You know, I came up on Jordan. Jordan never embraced hip-hop the way that Iverson not embraced hip-hop. He didn't have to embrace hip-hop. He was hip-hop.
You wasn't wearing hoop earrings.
I had braids
and big
in
jeans.
2005.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
I
Like,
blame
no,
my friends
but
so
Iverson was and really embodied hip hop. And so when you come out and your first song is White Iverson, to me it invokes hip. You know, equally great point guard, or maybe not equally great. Yeah, not John Stockton is a Hall of Fame guy. You could have named you didn't name the song John Stockton. And he didn't win a ring either. The ball could have worked. John Stockton, like the rings I never won.
Okay.
I
Like-
promise you 110%, if the record was named John Stockton, I would not have listened to it.
Right.
And that's why he named it Iverson.
Right.
And I think that's my thing with him. I think it's like he's benefited off of hip hop when it worked for him. I think like white artists have a history of being able to move into whatever is the most popular genre. They did it with soul music back in the day. They've done it with funk music. They're doing it with hip hop. Like my favorite thing about Post Malone is that he's not calling himself a hip hop artist because I don't
favorite
think.
thing.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I can give him. Thank you for acknowledging that you are not a hip hop artist. I think that he is an artist who has played with and benefited from the things that mainstream culture likes about hip hop. And that's like naming dude songs like that, having artists like 21 and Quavo on his tracks. But when you listen to his music, he's singing and he's doing that like crooning thing that that rappers do. And I love when Drake sings. I love when Cole sings. I love when Chance sings. I'm the woman they're doing that for. But they also rap. And could you ever see Post Malone like in a freestyle? Or like anything?
That's a good point, but let me raise this up. I don't know that hip hop and rap are exactly the same thing.
Yes.
I think
Right.
rap is like the action, right? So I believe, and I hear you wholeheartedly about
Yeah.
you being absolutely fine without him saying that he's hip hop. But I think there's hip hop artists who don't rap, you know. And look, if we're going back into history, if you go back to the Cold Crush brothers, they were battling, but they were doing it in harmonies and singing. You know, like Full Force with like, you know, Force MDs.
It wasn't bars.
Yeah, but it was still soulful in a way, right? I feel like there's no, I said this before, like what does his music stand for? What is the message ever? Like what does it say? Like those are the, you know, like I feel like even when you're like you're not rapping like you're saying, I just don't feel like he ever speaks to the hip hop community at its core in his music.
Well, what about White Iverson?
No.
No, because even like
So, I'm saucing on you.
but is that
like
that's us?
Garth Brooks is
That's
not
like that's hip hop culture for us.
Garth Brooks ain't saying, and sorry because I don't know a younger country artist is messed up. Maybe somebody of this generation, but the country artists aren't exact, or even the rock artists aren't really coming in talking about they sauce or they swag or they drip.
But we see that, right? Like, let's be honest. At the end of the day, hip hop culture, black culture is the coolest culture in the world, right?
Yes.
Like, we have the dominant genre, right? So, like, what we see are like people who come in and try to tap into that as a stepping stone. They're using our culture as a stepping stone, and I'm not with that personally. Like, I know I heard his, like, I guess the statements of, you know, he said something alluding to the fact, like, if I want to cry or if I need something with emotion, I don't want to listen to, you know, I can't listen to hip hop. I got to listen to Bob Dylan.
That's bullshit.
That's hella bullshit. But for me, it's like, it's just like, if you know what I mean? If you're, like you said, like Rob said, if your inception is White Iverson, you grilled up, you saucing and swagging, you can't, like when you try to, you know, back away from it, it just feels disingenuous. And you got to have some respect for the art, man. Like respect the culture that puts you in position.
And I think to kind of like, to follow that up, I think we need to be very specific. It's not necessarily just people doing that. It's white people doing that. You know, like there are white artists who kind of see, you know, the benefits of what hip hop has, both as a sound and as an aesthetic. And, you know, they pull from that, you know, and they want that to be cool because they know that, you know, that little tinge of hip hop is going to sell them an extra amount of records.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, man, because I had my points, but you make a very good point that I want to get to right away. And the question is, how does white privilege play into this? Like, do black artists have that same freedom to detach themselves so easily, or even to want, like, it makes me think about Miley Cyrus. Like, Miley Cyrus came in and was with Mike Will, and she was hip-hopped out, right? She was twerking on Robin Thicke. Robin Thicke trying to get his wife back.
I don't know what that was. It was a
half a twerk. She was caught twerking on Robin Thicke trying to get his wife back. She out here twerking. Listen,
Losing Paula Patton for that. Like,
Robin Thicke, I'm like, yo, I'm really trying to like get my home in order. And Shorty, you are over here like, what are
but
you
listen, and maybe he wasn't no victim neither, because Robin is not without his problems. But she comes and she speaks to Billboard, John Norris, the OG John Norris over there, and then talks about, that's what pushed me out of the hip hop scene a little. It was too much Lamborghini, got my Rolex, got a girl on my cock. I'm so not that. And it was like, well, that's what you were selling us a couple of years ago. So is hip hop this thing where, as a white artist, that you can kind of dip in and then dip out when convenient for you? Sylvia, what do you think?
I think it is for them. And I also think that when she says things like that, and when Post Malone says the thing about not coming to hip hop music for emotional depth, whatever, to me that shows how much they don't know about hip hop. Because to me, if your impersonation of that is like Lamborghini, saucing, swagging, that's such a shallow level of what hip hop is. You know what I mean? I think it's like, oh, I saw this on social media or the internet, so this is now my understanding of hip hop. Right. And so I think it's a thing where they want to, like you said, benefit off of what's cool about it, but not really ever even learn about what it was built upon. And I think that that's not okay. But I do think that it's a thing that they do for other genres as well. I think like Taylor Swift did that with country music. She started out as a country music artist and then went into pop. I think it's not, so I think it's like whatever's popular at the time.
Well, let's talk about this pop category, because, one thing about Post, and he recently did an interview with Hits Daily Double that seemed to be focused on him aiming for a Grammy. It seems like, Grammy season is coming up, and I think artists are trying to get press. He rarely does interviews, but artists are trying to get press and get in front of the voting committee to remind them, hey, I dropped something this year, you should probably vote for me. But so is it ultimately about getting a Grammy? Last month, it was reported that Post Malone's beerbongs and bentleys would compete in the pop category rather than the rap category. And we know historically it's been damn near impossible for rap, hip hop artists, and I'm sorry I'm using them interchangeably here because I don't think they're interchangeable, but impossible for hip hop artists to win Album of the Year. So is this more of him maybe jockeying for position in the pop category, which gives him a better chance at a Grammy?
I mean, I think it's him doing that. I think his statements definitely have short-term and long-term ramifications, right? Like, I think short-term, sure. I think it could be one of those things where, he wants to kind of put himself back into the limelight because he hasn't really dropped music recently, as far as I know. But it could be to put himself back into the Grammy light and like kind of see if he can go for broke that way. But I do think long-term, it's allowing him the quote-unquote creative freedom to kind of say, hey, I'm not a rapper, or I'm not this, I'm not that. Like, I think that while artists like him and artists like Miley Cyrus should definitely be held responsible, I think that the actual quote-unquote people who are in hip-hop culture should also kind of be held responsible.
How so?
I think that there's enablers around them. You know what I'm saying? If there's a person like, all right, like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Like, if I see Miley Cyrus said these things about hip hop music before, but now she's trying to venture back in, if I can't be that guy to letting that happen. So like, for all these rappers that are like now all of a sudden working with her, I forgot who the guy was for the life of me. I've been trying to think of it. It was a rapper that was working with Miley a couple weeks ago in the studio, like, oh, she got heat, she got this. I'm like, dog, if you really care about what rap music and what hip hop is, why are you working with this person again who's clearly shitted on? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
But we
like,
also got to hold the artist accountable too, right? Because Post is not the only one kind of distancing himself from being a rapper, right? Like, we've seen Uzi claim that he's not a rapper either, right? Like, we have other rap artists. I remember Wayne went through a phase where he was on his, like, I'm a rock star, I'm not a rapper. So we have that. And to me, like, I don't know, it's just disheartening sometimes that we kind of shy away from the coolest culture in the world. Like, there's a negative stigma that comes with, oh, you're a rapper, you're the rap guy, even from people that are in our culture.
Well, Juice WRLD just a couple of weeks ago said something very similar to Billboard. Shout out to the homie Carl Lamar, who did the interview, but he said, I'm able to do so many different things and become less of a rapper and just more as a musician. And this is coming from Juice WRLD, black artist, hot on fire right now. So
Who just did a collaborative mixtape with Future.
Right.
So like I hear that and I get that. Like again, like I said before, I would never want to put a creative in a box. You know what I'm saying? And like I think there's no problem with finding your lane and other things. Like obviously, we have had tons of rappers who've gone to do other stuff. If you have, Lil Wayne at a point in time, like one person comes to my mind was like ASAP, not his last album, but the album before that was very experimental with like sounds and stuff. By all means, find the sound that you want to do, but don't shit on what got you here. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I mean, just, the elephant in the room, yeah, like if you are a white artist kind of doing that and like, you're not gang, like you didn't put in your dues in this, like you weren't born into this and stuff like that. Like
it's like kind of a debt they have to pay a bit to me.
Is there a bit of a double standard for white artists, so to speak?
I don't think that if Post Malone was black, he could have been at the top of the Billboard charts the way he was.
Right.
Boom.
Doing what he was doing.
I mean, absolutely, but like that's like, if this is our house and you're a guest and I have my feet on the table and my mom doesn't want that, you as a guest also can't it's worse if you put your feet on the table. Like this is my house.
That's
here,
kind of why I want
like,
you to like.
It's bad enough we both doing it, but you don't live here, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
So
like,
you got to show some respect for the house that you're in, and that's for me. But to play kind of devil's advocate, I also do like when Post made the statements about, I guess, not being able to cry. We do got to keep it a stack, right? Like a lot of the records now are party records, are just records that are not filled with substance, right? Like, or I guess you kind of got to look for it more so than it kind of coming to you and rising to the top.
But yes, right. But one, I think the party element has always been in hip hop since. I mean, I think there was a Kid and Play record up here at some time. You know what I'm saying? DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, like party record. Like we've always had these type of records, and we have them now today. But we also have the J. Cole's, who there's the Kid Cudi's, the Kendrick Lamar's.
But like, who's rising to the top currently? Like, if we're talking about artists that rise to the top currently, majority of it are those.
But the guys at the top are still Drake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like Drake. I'm about to say who was recently like Travis.
But those
Drake.
guys are kind of grandfathered in. I feel like in the new era of like social media, of guys and new artists rising to the top, it's a certain style of rap more so than like we said, the Drakes, the Kendricks, and who I love and respect, you know what I mean? Absolutely. But I do understand the point of, Post making like that right now, currently, in terms of seeing meaningful content. I don't know if it's.
But I mean, even with your point about party records, I do feel like there's always still a bit of like, this was the struggle, this is how I came up, or even like in their album, it may not be their singles, but their songs are there on the album. I was searching for Post Malone to give me something on his albums, like where is a track with meaning of something of depth, like, and I think it does also circle back to your point about, okay, these are black rappers who may be giving us like shallow party records, but it's worse when you're a white rapper doing that because it's like the foot on the table thing again, right? It's like, okay, I'm doing that, but I also don't have a cultural debt to pay. You're profiting off of something black culture created, and you're not even black.
Here's one thing that Rap Radar, and not to put you on the spot, because do you guys post Post Malone music on Rap Radar? Okay, it's called Rap Radar, right? Like Rap Caviar is on Spotify. The playlist is a huge catalyst for hip hop artists. Like he's also occupying space. Rap Radar, an important blog, where he's occupying space that traditionally have gone to rappers or hip hop artists, and so that's the benefit though that I think that you speak of. It's not I don't even know what the country playlist on Spotify is and how much it moves. And I'm not even trying to be funny. I just don't. One quote that he said too, and that don't listen to hip hop quote that he told the Polish outlet. He did come back and did a video and kind of explain what that was, his don't listen to hip hop quote. And one thing he said, that the interview was about a beer tasting interview. So they had drunk a lot of beer. So at that point he's drunk. But he says this, and this is before beerbongs and Bentley comes out. He says, my last hip hop album was fucking hip hop. My next hip hop album, I'm talking about beerbongs and Bentleys, because at the time of this quote, it hadn't come out yet. My next hip hop album is fucking hip hop. I love hip hop. I make hip hop. I want to take this genre and stretch it so far that people who may not listen to it will listen to it. So the question is, and him as a person, I think individually to want to have that, and because now he's kind of speaking out of both sides, but let's just take this quote for what it is, wanting to represent for hip hop. there's nothing wrong with that. But then being white, like it really sounds like Great White Hope.
Like, is it Uchiwali or is it one mic?
Right.
Like you can't go on record to say, oh yeah, I'm not a rapper, I'm not this, I'm an artist, I'm this or whatever. And then like I'm quick to pull up the facts on that, fam, because it's just like, yo, if you're saying, you know, my last album is hip hop, my next album is hip hop, and I want to stretch it so far that, you know, people who don't listen to it. Like that's one of them things where it's kind of like stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? Like I do agree. Like I said in the beginning of this piece, like, you know, he got slaps, but it's just like understand first and foremost that rap and hip hop are two different things. Right. And I think that in today's current climate, like we don't necessarily need that. We don't need that, like you said, that Great White Hope. That's actually a perfect analogy for it. Like we don't need that nowadays.
And historically, it's meant something like, you know, I think if we look at it now, it may be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with what he said, but you know, people probably thought at the moment there was nothing wrong with Elvis until
they found out.
You come back 50, 60 years later and it's like, oh, Elvis is the guy who created rock and roll. And it's like, no, this was a black genre.
And what worries me, what feels mostly irresponsible about Post Malone going back like that is because he's right in the way that he's going to stretch hip hop where people who wouldn't normally listen to it are going to listen to him because of who he's white and he looks like this and their white daughters love it or whatever and they're like, what is this music? And to me, him being an ambassador in that way is terrifying. Because it's like, if this is your introduction to hip hop and now this is what you're leaving thinking hip hop is, like, no, that's not your role to be like, oh, I want to spread it so far.
I mean, well, that's my point. And that's the problem, like you said, is Post is an ambassador for hip hop, you know, like for the mainstream, right? Like we saw just even in elections, right? There's a middle America that are doing things that are totally different than what we're doing and accustomed to seeing. Yeah. So when he goes out on these platforms and speaks that, these people are listening and that resonates with them, right? So like for me, it's like, it's an irresponsible comment. I don't necessarily think he meant it in that way. Right. Like when I'm watching it, you know what I mean? I don't think he meant like, oh, you know what I'm saying? But I think that it's important to realize that language matters and the language that you speak and the rhetoric that you speak can have long-lasting effects.
We gotta start holding people just accountable.
And here's the thing too, like, cause like these have personally kind of bothered me because I know hip hop has given me everything. Like it gave me a career. I don't know if I could if this hip hop journalism thing didn't work out for me. I don't know if I could cross over in the country or if they would even accept me. I don't know anything about it.
You got even with country music, man. I'm serious.
I just don't know. As an example, that's the thing I furthest one. But then again, they let everybody come in and from every genre and cover hip hop like if they're some expert. But that's another.
That's another. But there's a reason why.
But when he says these things, I really try to understand what Post is saying. I try to empathize and like let me try to understand where you're coming from. And Post, if you want to come on this show and we could have this discussion for real. And talk about this thing, I would love to do it. But Jesus Christ, man, like,
you know, like it's funny, like when you say that, you know, like, or matter of fact, Sylvia said, when you're just like, you know, if Post Malone is going to be someone's introduction to hip hop music, that can be terrifying, right? I think that is my current, not necessarily gripe, but that's what bothers me the most about artists nowadays. Trying to eliminate the idea of genres, right? Like I think that for the most part, you know, again, I'm all for creativity. I'm all for collaboration. Like there's so many artists that kind of, you know, use, you know, if I'm an alternative artist and I use a rapper on my song, or, you know, if I'm a rapper and I have a blues player playing, you know, the guitar or something like that, like I'm all for that. But I think that having genres in music gives a base. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm a person that, if I'm listening to a Snow Allegra record, and all I do is listen to Snow Allegra and her type of music and everything like that, and I listen to Nothing Burns Like the Cold, which is the record if you hear on like all the iPhone commercials now. If I hear that record on that commercial, I'm like, yo, this song is amazing. I want to listen to the song. And then Vince Staples is on it. I have to ask, who is Vince Staples? What type of artist is he? And like, oh, this sounds good. I want to listen to it more. And if I listen to Vince Staples is a hip hop artist. So like when you have newer artists nowadays that like think that you have to break down the walls of genre, it becomes very dangerous because it then loses what the essence of these building blocks of music actually are.
And hip hop is black music.
Yeah, and who their founders are.
Well, when we
because
talk the genres, like that whole like all-inclusive genre thing, that feels like All Lives Matter to me. That's what that's the musical equivalent
answer me
of
this.
All Lives Matter.
Ask me this, Sylvia. Let me go. How did you feel just not too long ago at the AMAs? Migos won an award for Best Pop Rock Group or Duo at the AMAs.
That's some bullshit.
I was confused. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think pop has always been. I get that pop is like popular, right? So like sometimes I get why hip hop may fall into pop. Now that it's the most popular genre out, but like rock, like it's like I think award show categories are confusing. Period. Like there's a lot of times where I'm like, why is this alternative R&B? Why is this regular R&B? Why is this so? But I do think that with other genres, there's less at stake with mixing those up. Where hip hop, it's personal. It feels personal because it is personal. Like it's the genre that was founded upon a certain consciousness, a certain community, a certain struggle. Yeah. And so to take that away is very like taking away what we were able to build as Black people in this country out of our pain.
Well, let me even add to that. Like right now, we're fighting as a genre, even as the biggest genre, to be legitimized and recognized as a real art form, right? Like I don't think there's ever been Song of the Year still. Like there's never been a rap song that was Song of the Year at the Grammys. Jay-Z just got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, what was that, last year or whatever? Like we're still having a fight and a battle to show people the world like this is a real art form. This isn't just like some bullshit that we're doing. And like when you make statements like that kind of, it's a pretense to just the notions and ideas that, what we're doing is just like a sideshow.
Like, a lot of people don't even realize, a lot of younger people don't even realize, like the rap category wasn't televised on the Grammys before. Yeah. It was a point where like that had to be fought for.
Yeah, and most of their awards are still not. Only the big ones are now.
Your family was at the center of that.
And I think that yes, like my dad was a lead catalyst of that, and I think that but I think family ties aside, I think that's important to me. You know what I'm saying, as a hip hop fan, because I'm just like like that's representation. If it's very easy for. It's very easy for the white consumer, or I'll say that, it's very easy for the white consumer to come into our land, tap into our pockets, tap into our resources and stuff like that.
That's what they've always done.
But you don't want to give us the recognition for it. So like I do agree, like I don't know what age group is under millennials or younger than millennials. Gen Z. So Gen Z may not realize that like 30 some years ago, like the rap category had to get fought for to be shown.
And that's why it's important to have artists who have songs and records that remind them of that.
Yes.
Right. And when all you're listening to is Post Malone and all these party records, you're thinking this is what hip hop has always been.
It's funny because I feel like we answered this question. I was going to throw the question out, but I feel like we answered it. In his Daily Double interview, Post literally asked the question, if a song makes you feel nice or it makes you feel sad or it makes you feel anything, what does it really matter what category it is? And the answer is, and I think we all have been speaking passionately about it, it matters what category it is. It matters where it comes. I think that's a beautiful, idealistic statement, sure. But if you take kind of this music that was born out of Black and brown struggle in the cities and really reflection of pain, and then start to divorce it from that category, a really dangerous thing starts.
It's incredibly ignorant. Like I think that, and it's weird, man. Like I don't know how old everybody is on the panel, but like
I'm old as fuck.
like,
I'm getting that watch.
You getting okay? Yeah. I mean, but like
I'm older than I look.
Like I like that. That was good. See, I wasn't gonna ask that. But no, like I mean, I'm reaching an age where, I'm starting to remember. Like I'm starting to remember everything, kind of like. Before internet, after internet. Yeah. And I think that, having that knowledge and understanding, where our music has come from, it allows me to kind of understand where our music can go. And I think that for a lot of younger music fans, I don't think they really understand the significance of where hip hop came from.
And that's why with this show is so important to us here at Genius, and even this set. If you see, and I know the audience can't see it all, but there's a Grandmaster Furious Flash record, there's a Mace record, there's a Michael Jackson record, there's a Biggie record, there's a Kendrick Lamar record, there's a Missy Elliott record, Janet Jackson, Lil' Kim. Like this shit is rich history. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's like Post Malone sounds very like, oh, post-racial society. It's idealistic, it's naive, but it's never going to be the case, especially in America. Like, even race is a social construct. Yeah. So in hip-hop, it's very much, yes, a social construct as a genre in that same way, but the same way we can never eliminate races, we can't eliminate this, like, these genres.
Right, but you understand, like, generally the way privilege works is the people with it don't recognize they have it.
Exactly,
right?
which is why I'm not surprised.
So that's the thing, is just the ability to kind of go in and out, right? Like, you're not seeing it from the lens of like, this is what I have, this is what I live. I don't have the, this is who we are, right? I don't have the ability to kind of jump back and forth. You know, if we're all in the car and, you know, there's, you know, all four of us in the car, one is white, three black guys, you know, the dynamic is different. That's just a fact.
And it matters, especially in times like now, where I think, you know, black people in America, we are under a lot right now. And I think these are the times where hip hop shines, where it's like we're listening to music to like that relates to what it feels like to be black in America right now, that feels cathartic in ways, and all of these things that are so necessary. Right. And if we eliminate the genre's responsibility or need to ever do that, like hip hop was built out of a survival mechanism, like.
Absolutely. But I do agree with Post. Niggas gotta step their bars up though. I still do agree with that. I mean, basically, like that's
the last one to talk.
No, that's true. That's true. Bad messenger, right? Bad messenger. But I respect the message. Like that's kind of what I got out of listening to the whole like hip hop thing. Like I said, it is disrespectful, the language, but I felt like the idea is just like, all I hear now, like the new shit rising to the top, is just BS music. And I feel like that too. I feel like if I would have said that publicly, I'm black, people might not take it the same way, but that's kind of how I received it. Like I said, it is dangerous rhetoric, so, you know, he got to be checked for that. But at the same time, I still understand where he's coming from.
I want to get into final thoughts. That's a good final thought. I want to get whatever your final thought, a response to that, or even something.
I mean, so two things. I think that for real, if I'm one of Post Malone's, you know, maybe they're not friends, but if I'm one of his past collaborators who are hip hop artists, I would want to know what they think. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, to if I'm Quavo and I'm like, dog, we did, congratulations. Yeah, granted, it was your record, but like, I had an impact on that record, and I hear you saying all these things about, you know, how you're not this, or essentially how you're not me, or how we're not the same. Like, you know, I want to kind of like, do I feel kind of used in that way? And then the second thing, I think that's interesting. The second thing is, man, like, I just think that, you know, again, I think accountability is important. I think that, you know, the idea and the phrase of gatekeeping has been tossed around for so long, and I think we need to kind of do a little bit more of that internally, you know, as far as just like kind of remembering giving out passes to have these spaces to say these things and things like that. And yeah, man, I think, you know, I'm still stuck on you saying he was saying you gotta get his bars up.
I'm just saying, like, let's keep it real.
What is the best Post Malone bar? Like, he talks about nothing.
No, I feel you, and I agree with that. But I'm just saying, is the message changed by the messenger?
Yes.
Like, does the messenger change? Because it's still a message that I received is like, step them bars up.
I still think people are right. Look, this year I got a Nipsey Hussle album, I got a J-Rock album, I got a Pusha T album. Jid is killing it right now. Cole, Currency, and Freddie Gibbs.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but it just sucks now. It feels like that's the minority as opposed to like 10 years ago.
Then we got a Black Panther soundtrack.
Black Panther soundtrack. Oh, beginning of the year, you're right.
I just think I think people have to learn how to compartmentalize music. Right. Like, I think there's always going to be places and spaces for party records. I think there's always going to be places and spaces for introspective hip hop. Like, I think that, you know, if people by and large ever have a chance to get that, then we'll start to see a lot of those more introspective records making it to the top of the charts.
Sylvia, I want to get final thoughts from you.
I think my main final thought is just that if you're gonna be a white artist in hip hop, I feel like there's like a certain a debt that you still do have to pay, and I think it's like you can't get away with being as like vapid about it. And I get like what you're saying, like it is the messenger. But like even G-Eazy dropped out of an H&M campaign because it was racist. You know what I mean? Like even he did. No, it's not. But I'm just saying like I'm just saying like
you can't fault him for doing
it.
Like he did it.
But I'm just saying like even when he was doing, like he holds certain like of his white fans accountable about certain things. I'm just saying Post Malone has not done any of these things, and I just feel like that's my biggest issue with him, and that's why I'm happy that he doesn't want to be a rapper no more. Because I never thought you were wearing it anyway.
You don't want to rap? Don't rap.
Don't rap.
I will say that. Yeah,
you want to leave?
Like if he wants to make this statement, if he wants to separate himself from hip hop and rap and everything that kind of comes with that, that's perfectly fine. don't double back and ask
gonna stay
for a
with it.
feature.
Right.
Don't go get murder. Don't
Right.
you know like don't
Jockey to be on Rap Caviar,
yeah, like
front page of Spotify.
Don't forget to
don't
leave
do
when
none
you
of that.
leave.
Like let the door close behind you. Like, you know, don't take our resources if you're not gonna appreciate what we gave you.
Yeah, man. And finally, you know, to everybody too, just watching, all the fans, there's gonna be debates in that comment. I see it already. We're
Yes,
standing on
welcome.
different sides of the fence. Really, what we trying to do is give context to this conversation and just reminding people and letting people know that hip hop just ain't dropped out of the sky. And this genre is very important to us, and we're gonna hold it with the utmost respect, you know. And I'd like to thank Naji, Cory, Sylvia. I'd like to thank y'all for coming. You are always welcome before the record.
Thank you for having me.
All right?
having us.
Nah, man. And thank y'all for watching, man. Let us know. Post, you want to come to the show, man? Let's talk about it one-to-one, man. Let's get some understanding.
He ain't gonna come on this show.
Peace.